Welcome to another episode of the Raise Recovery Podcast. We have with us again today Dan Rico. If you guys have been following us and seeing our videos, you know that Dan and I have used together for a very long time, since middle school into our early adult lives. And we are here again to bring our experience and value to you. Today, we're going to be talking about medication, as the title says, the Masquerade of Medication Madness. So we want to inform you guys because there's a lot of different topics here. We've been seeing, a lot of new substances marketed as supplements, herbal supplements, and we're going to talk about that. And beyond that, the medications that people prescribe in rehabs and institutions like that. Basically, any kind of recovery center that is an inpatient center. And we have some experiences we want to share with you about that. I have one that is very interesting, and we'll get into that more. But first, I just want to again introduce Dan, and Dan, just give us a little bit about yourself and what you think, on this topic and what you'd like to talk about.
Well, as Ray said, we've been friends for a long time. The place I work at, we don't use medications. We only use medications for detox and withdrawal. Whenever it would be dangerous, for instance, if someone's coming off of alcohol or benzodiazepines, you have to use something to comfortably, safely taper somebody off of that. But after someone's out of the detox, we just use vitamins and like natural supplements that help with any lingering effects that you may have. Because I don't think that you can really necessarily prescribe or diagnose someone who just got off drugs, because of course they're going to be depressed. We don't really do that here at this place, because like I've been into so many rehabs, and I would go in coming off of heroin and benzos and come out on 10 different drugs and leave on more drugs than when I came in on.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy. And I will say this, the last rehab that I was in, I didn't want to be on any drugs, and let's talk about dual diagnosis, because this leads into my next story. But I would say, and we've talked about this, Dan, maybe 1 or 2% of people are actually dual diagnosis based on our own experiences. I would say we don't claim, just a quick disclaimer, we don't claim to be doctors or anything, but we know a lot about the field. And we've had a lot of experiences. Dan works in the field. I work in the field on a different kind of end of it. But they told me I had a lot of problems with anxiety and I was depressed. And, if you're using drugs for any length of time, number one, there's a reason why we start to use, right? We're trying to, it's an attempt to solve a problem in the best way we could figure out at that time in our lives, that moment and that point. And so there's something causing that, and something in our lives causing that. So there's addiction it's in the brain. It's like a sick way of thinking. It's sick pattern. It's like patterns in the brain. And the drugs hijack our brain into thinking we need them as badly as we need air. And so the whole dual diagnosis thing, I feel, like I said, 98% of it is a load of crap. Of course, you're going to be depressed and anxious and psychotic, depending on your drugs and how long you've been using and all those variables. So they immediately want to put you on all these different things: antidepressants, antipsychotics, anti-anxiety. So the last rehab I was in, they told me that I had to get on Neurontin, gabapentin, which is now a scheduled substance. At the time, it wasn't yet, but it was very close to being that. So I told them no, because I don't want to become addicted to another drug that I'm going to have to come off of. And they said, well, if you're not going to take it, that tells us that you don't care about your recovery and you have an unwillingness in your recovery to get better. And I just, it upset me. I'm like, how is that possible? I'm telling you, I don't want a drug that is addictive, but you're telling me if I don't take it, that's me saying to you that I'm not dedicated to my recovery. I would think it would be the exact opposite. And so I know a lot of people can probably relate to this. And so anyway, they wanted to give me 800 milligrams of gabapentin twice a day, which is an extremely high dose, by the way. And so I said, there's no way I'm doing that. And so I worked out a deal with them. I said, how about this? Because it was basically like either you do this or you leave. I had an ultimatum. And I said, how about this? Prescribe it to me as on an as needed basis. I will take it when I'm feeling anxious. And so every now and then I would take one to appease them and show that I am, dedicated to my recovery, which I think was a complete atrocity. I think that is so horrible. Um, excuse me. And so I did it, but over the course of some months, I started to try to get off of that, and I went through withdrawals. And anybody that's been on gabapentin knows that that's a tough one to kick. Like it's not easy. It makes you like just enraged. Your anxiety is through the roof. Your whole central nervous system is just going crazy. And but I got through it. Ultimately, I got through it. But why have to go through that to begin with? Now I get again, we understand that some people do need some meds sometimes. And there was a period in my life when I was younger, I was really into psychedelics, and I was actually diagnosed psychotic and extreme depressive and extreme panic disorder. And so there was a period of time I was on benzos and antidepressants. I probably tried 90% of the antidepressants under the sun at that time, if not all of them, and antipsychotics as well, which I hated to take them. But there was about a 3-year period where I did take them, and they did help me to some degree. The antidepressants probably helped me the most. So I'm not saying don't take them, but if you're in a spot like I was, where like you're ready to get clean and you just want to get it all over with, I mean, some of these places will force you to take these drugs, and I think that's wrong. Like especially if, and then they always think they know and they have your best interest, and there's a lot to be said for that. I mean, we could talk all day just on that, but we want to get into some other things. But Dan, what is your take on all that? What do you think? What are your experiences, like either with yourself and or other people that you've met in different rehabs and stuff?
I've been to rehab over 20 times, and all of
Close to
them,
30, right?
yeah, 27 actually. This
Yeah.
was my 27th rehab. But all of them, none. I would say some of them would force me to take, like it's like you have to take this as part of your treatment plan. Some of them were optional, but they were all like highly, highly pushed on you. And I found, like you, in the same span when we hung out, we took the benzos. I never really took those in the beginning, as it was always like I would get the prescription of benzos and then be gone in like a few days. I never actually took. I mean, there was periods later, and whenever I would try to take them as prescribed, like 1 or 2 milligrams 3 times a day. But it was like, I mean, you know how those went. It was like 1, 2, 3 days, they're all gone. The antidepressants, personally for me, they didn't really ever do anything. And I've been on every antidepressant under the sun: Lexapro, Paxil, Prozac, Celexis. I mean, the list could go on. But I think that a lot of them, you can't really, like you said, I think it's a very, very small percentile of people that actually have problems with any of those dual diagnosis issues. I went to one detox center when I was detoxing. I went to see the psychiatrist. He didn't even look at me. He says, "Are you happy sometimes?" I said, "Yes." He said, "Are you depressed sometimes?" I said, "Yes." He said, "You're bipolar." I was like, "No, I'm just withdrawing from heroin and benzos right now. If you give me some drugs right now, I'll be happy." I mean, And then he put me on, he's like, you have to take Depakote and this and like a list of laundry list of medications that I honestly, they deemed they were ineffective for me. And I've done some research on some of the other ones. Like I know Buspar is heavily prescribed for people that don't have, and there it has about a 2% rate of helping with anxiety. I think a lot of it is the placebo effect of actually taking something and you think it's going to help you. Now, I will say I also was on antipsychotics as well, Zyprexa and Seroquel, and which those I found helpful at times for whenever. The only times I found them effective were for sleep, not because I had felt like I was psychotic at any point. It just like whenever I couldn't sleep, those certainly knock you out.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. For sure. And I was on, all those things too, Boost Bar and
Yeah,
Zyprexa, which is an antipsychotic, Thorazine, Tram,
Geodone.
yeah, like all those things. And I mean, they call it the Thorazine shuffle for a reason because like you're so doped up, you're like you can barely move, and it just makes you feel horrible.
Yeah,
Yeah, so I don't know, man. I don't know where else to go with that one other than, I would say it's on a case by case basis. We're not trying to say here, I don't think that like, refuse these at all costs, but
you should give it time.
yes, and we're just trying to educate people on like our experience with these things. And I think a lot of it we could have done without. Some of it we certainly could have done without, for sure. And then you have to try, like with antidepressants, especially. It's like you gotta take this one for a while and then see if it works, and it does nothing, and then take
Yeah,
and Prozac turns out to be the strongest fluoride that we know of, and there are tests and studies that have shown when they put the fluoridine or whatever the chemical name is, the fluoride in Prozac, can't recall off the top of my head, but it literally kills living tissue and cells like almost immediately. Within seconds, the cells die. So it's literally killing your brain cells, marketed as an antidepressant. And we talked about this on a phone call once, Dan, but or in a message, that the word pharmacy or pharmaceutical comes from the Greek, I believe it's the Greek or Latin word pharmakeia. I believe it's Latin pharmakeia, which actually means sorcery. So if you think about that, there's these companies that are making these molecules that change your biological makeup, your cognitive thinking, and that's like a curse would do something like that, or if someone put a hex on you. So these things come from sorcery. God gave us everything we need on earth, all kinds of plants and natural things that our bodies actually need. And then if you look at the list of side effects of these pharmaceuticals, it's like longer than the list of pros, and it's like could cause suicide and could cause death and respiratory failure, and you might develop cancer and all these things, but it's good for you, and it'll help you with your anxiety or it'll help you with your depression, but you might have suicidal thoughts and tendencies. It's like and people just, oh well, the FDA approved it, so it must be okay, or like could cause liver failure. A lot of them could possibly cause liver failure. Consult your doctor. And so the whole medical system, man, it's just like the Western culture medical system. It's I do not believe in it. Now, I'm not saying there aren't some things. I don't want to get off on a tangent. There are some things that do help, like surgeries and some things that are legitimately good and do help, but a lot of it, we could find natural solutions to. No, we can't find a natural solution to a heart plant yet, a heart, transplant yet, or prosthetic leg, growing back a limb yet. I mean, there are some things in that, but But let's switch gears a little bit, unless you have anything else to add to that first, Dan. No, okay.
Nope, I think that covers most of it.
Yeah. So we want to educate you guys if you don't already know, or maybe you're on something. There's so many things today, depending on where you live, that you can just walk into a gas station or a head shop and buy. And they're marketed as herbal supplements or some kind of like supplement that will help you to feel good, uh, feel well. And they don't really, most of them don't have warning labels. Some will have a warning label after there has been people that have like tried to sue them for the effects. But one that came up today, me and Dan were talking about this episode beforehand, and he brought up ZAZA Red. And I'd like you to kind of talk about that and the different names of it,
Okay.
and kind of just tell people about that and your experience. And like you said, you've had some clients come in recently because of this stuff. So go ahead and talk to
Yeah.
us about that.
Well, hold on. I'm gonna look up. It's illegal, and let me just look up this.
It's like illegal in 7 states.
Yeah, I'm gonna look them up real quick.
Sure.
Um, tianeptine is banned in Alabama, Michigan, Mississippi, Tennessee, Georgia, Indiana, and Ohio. So those states you cannot buy these products. But
And what's it called? Can you say that tianeptine?
tianeptine,
And how do you spell that?
uh, TIANEPTINE.
Okay. Just so the audience knows, like read
Yeah.
these labels, guys, but continue, please.
So there's products that for one is called ZAZA Red, one is called Tiana, one is called Pegasus, and one is called TD Red. And they come in bottles typically of 15 capsules, and they're about $30 to $40 a bottle, which is quite expensive. And they're labeled as a dietary supplement. And what's in them is usually just like a few, like kava, just a few other things that aren't like so bad, and then tianeptine. Now, tianeptine in outside of the United States is like in the UK and Russia. It's it's an atypical. Yeah, it looks just like that.
You can keep talking. I'm just showing people.
It's the tianeptine is an atypical tricyclic antidepressant, which is something of its own category. That's not prescribed in the United States. It's actually unregulated, and in the places where it is prescribed out of the U.S. Are doses about 15 milligrams, 2 to 3 times a day. And I think the drug actually is called Stablon, I believe it's called. And
Stablon?
Yeah, that's like outside of the U.S. and it's like 15 milligrams 3 times a day. Where these ZAZA capsules have anywhere from 180 to 250 milligrams per capsule, which is like highly exceeds the dose of an antidepressant drug. And then people will you buy a bottle and you take five or six of these capsules, and it creates a very, very heroin-like effect. And the different thing about this drug is it has such a high affinity for the opiate receptors that within 3 days if you use it for 2 or 3 days in a row, you feel physical withdrawal symptoms. Within days.
Sorry, repeat that last part.
I said within 3 days of using it, you feel physical withdrawal symptoms pretty intensely after 3 days. We've had people come here that have just been on it for a few months, and they said it was far superior than opiate or fentanyl withdrawal at the intensity of it, and because it's like coming off an opiate, a benzo, and an antidepressant all at once. And they said that it blew their receptors out to the point where the one guy came, he says, I did 10 Roxy 30s all within like 20 minutes attempting to like help the withdrawal, and they did nothing.
So 300 milligrams of oxycodone still withdrawing off these legal things you could buy at the gas station or a head shop. I mean, it's so crazy. And we were also talking, I mean, do you have something else you wanted to add on that before I go to the next substance?
That's I mean, I think that's pretty much of all of them, the worst one that is available right now. The worst one of all of them is the products all are either labeled red, green, or silver. And the silver ones contain phenibut, which phenibut is also another addictive drug that's similar to a benzo. So if you start taking that, then you have to come off. That's even worse, to come off of both of them at the same time. But if you see something labeled like Tiana, ZAZA Red, ZAZA Silver, Pegasus, I would highly, especially if you have an addictive personality, or just anyone in general, because you get physically dependent on them within just a couple days.
Yeah, I would say anyone because I mean, like say you're a hardworking person, maybe you work in construction, maybe you have a physically demanding job and you're looking for something to kind of relieve some pain and stuff, and you're like, oh, this is a herbal supplement, it's like and you take it a couple of days and like now you're like so sick and you don't know why. It's like they don't necessarily
No,
have warning labels on these things, so you want to read the labels, look for that tianeptine as we
yeah,
spell it out for you. And if you're just seeing this right now, go back a couple minutes and look. We spelled it out for you. It's tianeptine. Is that active chemical? So the other one, did you have something else, Dan?
no. All I was gonna say is, don't be that one guy like I would used to be years ago, and that hears this and be like, "Oh, I want to try it." No, don't. I
Yeah, yeah,
promise, it's not worth it. It is
yeah.
not worth it.
Totally not worth. You'd not that we're condoning this, but you'd be better off taking like Vicodin or Percocet
Yeah,
than this stuff. Yeah.
100%.
100%. Yeah. So, and that's still not good. Like, but, there's these feel free drinks, okay, that contain kava and kratom. Now, I'm not going to sound like a hypocrite. I have tried kava, I have tried kratom. Kava is, if you don't know, it is an actual herbal supplement. It's a root. And I believe it originated in the Samoan Islands, but it's a root that is in the pepper family. And it's very good for anxiety. It's actually like alcohol is in the United States. That's how kava is to them over there. It's part of their culture. Okay. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it, and been a little bit in a small dose, and it can and does help with it's in it's an elixiotic, it's anti-anxiety type, and so it can also be an alcohol replacement. But it's bad for your liver, just like alcohol. If you have liver problems, don't take it. Some of these things can help you if you're trying to get off drugs. I would go with like a more herbal thing, but you don't want to stay on it and you don't want to use it as a replacement. But these feel frees just in the label is a lie because it's addictive and you can get in the grips of it. And I'm sure some of you listening have probably heard of it or even tried it. Maybe you had experiences yourself. And I mean, even trying to get off something like that is challenging. To no means like the Zaza Red, but there's so many different things. Or like there's this one called Legal Lean. They used to have these ones that were they were some kind of they looked like Xanny bars, but it was a blue lotus extract that was compressed into these like white speckly Xanax bar formed like tablets. And those um years ago they had them, but then they banned them because they were no good because people were getting addicted. Like a benzo, they're very strong, very good at calming, but anything that seems to work really well is addictive. And there's so many different things. I mean, we all have probably heard about bath salts, the which was meant to be a derivative of cocaine, the cocaine molecule, like something they created to mimic a cocaine high, but it caused people hallucinations. I've been in rehabs that there was people in there literally just for bath salts. The paranoia, they think there's like 5 or 6 black SUVs, the FBI's following them, and all that. Did you have something to add there, Dan?
Um, I will say, with the one of the ones that I got onto like a lot back in the day was kratom, and a lot of people are. I used to be one of those people who are like, oh, it's good for you, it's not bad, it's better than. But I'm not saying that it's like for people trying to come off of heroin is like a step down. I don't think that's necessarily bad if you, like I said, you like try to just taper yourself off. But if you use it for, again, I used it for a year or two, maybe even longer, and the withdrawals are just like regular. It's just like an opiate.
Mhm.
And I don't think that that stuff, like I said, like you said, anything that does work too well, there's always some downfall to it.
Yeah.
And another one that I personally had experienced a lot was phenibut, which is sold as an anxiety supplement, which
Yes.
which in Russia and the United Kingdom and other places you have to get a prescription for it, which is just as addictive as Xanax or Klonopin. And I took that for a few years, and I was like, it can't be that addictive, and tried to stop, and I would get shaky, and it could lead to seizures, and it has very, very similar properties to actually GHB and benzodiazepines.
And another one, maybe you've seen them at all.
And I've
On
I've
the
actually seen those not too long ago in one of the gas stations.
Yes, I mean they're very common, Adderall. So it's supposed to be a legal version of Adderall, which is Adderall is a amphetamine, not a methamphetamine, amphetamine. So, but you want to look for these things. It's GABA and Bacopa Monieri, Bacopa Monnieri. Okay, so those are so it's gamma amino butyric acid. So GABA is short, okay, and it also has caffeine in it. So this is what like the back of the package looks like. Um, at all. Caffeine, gamma, aminobutyric acid, GABA, and Bacopa Monnieri. Okay. Now, I don't see, plus they have some dyes in there, silicon dioxide, magnesium stearate for the gelatin capsules. Those are all no good for you, actually. And there's heavy metals in these things, but they look like this. I'll show you guys what they actually look like. This is basically, sometimes they'll just come in a bubble card, but this is what they look like. Now, this is a bubble card, but it looks like a pill bottle. And I've seen them a little different, but this is what you're going to be looking for. And you got to be very careful, even if you don't consider yourself an addict. These things are addictive. They are. I mean, if it's an Adderall, if Adderall is addictive and this is an alternative, a legal alternative, it's addictive as well. These things are no good. And then there's one on the other end that calms you down. Um, I'm drawing a blank on that one, but I believe the same company makes it, and they come in like these blue and white capsules. But
Phenazine,
what is it?
is it phenazine?
I
Phenazine red. It's like one's called Chill.
no, I believe it has some phenibut in it,
Yeah,
which
that's
is
what it is.
okay. Well, how do you spell that?
Oh, phenazine.
Phentermine,
Hold on, let me pull it up.
phenelzine. No.
This. It comes in the same type of bottle as.
Okay. It's hard to see. Pull it back a little bit. Okay. It's still kind of hard to
It's
see.
spelled PHRENZE,
Okay.
and it's just phenibut.
Gosh.
Made by the same company who makes ZAZA, but it's strictly. They have one called Chill. It's called, I don't even know how to pronounce that. Frenzy Chill, and it's just phenibut.
There's another one that I've been seeing. It's called float mushrooms. One of their things, they look similar to this. Here, I'll show you guys right here. Um, they'll be in these, it's like this, there's their logo with the mushroom.
Lift it up a
They're
little.
their float. Now this claims to be a mushroom supplement. It's a 2 ounce shot. Um, and they have Amanita muscaria in them. Okay. They're 25 milligram hemp derived smart shroom and Amanita muscaria drink shots. They have Delta 9 THC. Now, on the bottles I've seen, they do not say any of that on the bottles, and they're fast acting, and they will level you out to a point where it's almost scary. They even have the mixed fruit pops. I'll just show you guys here. They have different like shroomberry, uh, and hopefully you don't get in trouble for showing this stuff. But I mean, it's public information, so
Yeah.
um, you know, where is it? See, it says in the description what they have in them, but on the bottles, I never seen any of that stuff on there. So that's another thing. Like, there's so many things. Like, guys, here's the point: if you go into a gas station or a head shop and you see these products, expect them to be addictive. I mean, that's point blank, you know. And now they have all the Delta 8 and even Delta 9 legal flour and pre-rolls and all this stuff and the moon rocks and all this stuff is addictive. They even have just regular CBD flour, which you might be okay with that, but if you're a drug addict, just smoking it might not be a good idea for you because it could trigger you to want the real thing, as we've talked about in previous episodes. Just smelling it, and it's basically identical to like real cannabis, and it gets you high. So I don't know. We could talk all day on all the different and every time they ban one, someone just
Just molecule makes another one.
yep, tweaks a molecule. Now it's not now it's legal, and it's in the, yeah. So I don't know,
My
Dan. What?
I was going to say my personal opinion on a lot of these things, especially from working here and seeing people coming off of some of this stuff, especially this TNFD stuff. It's like I think that's actually worse than the real thing, like heroin.
Yeah.
Like like he was a former opiate addict, and I've seen several people come here, and all the research I've done on it, I have not heard one person say that, oh, this is easier. Every single person I've talked to that's been on this stuff has said this is 10 times harder to come off than fentanyl and heroin. You're better off just getting I mean, if you're gonna do something, if I were gonna go do something, I would rather just have the real thing than something that emulates something and is worse. A lot of these are research chemicals. A lot of these are like things that mimic. The legal versions are worse than the illegal versions. It seems like in some instances.
Yeah. And we don't, there's not like you said, they're research chemicals, meaning that there hasn't been much research at all done on them, on the effects of the human body. We know what heroin does. We have decades of, experience and data on heroin and fentanyl, but these other new things, like you could, I've heard stories of people that take these things and they die. Like, and heroin and fentanyl, let's be fair here, but you don't know what these chemicals and substances are going to do to you. So why risk it? I totally agree with you, Dan. We're not condoning drug use by any means. We're actually, I mean, we work in recovery. We help people to get off this stuff. Our goal is to educate you about these things so that you don't fall into another trap. Maybe you've been clean for a while, and you think, oh, this is something maybe, I could try. But the best way to do it is to live a sober, clean life. You'll be much happier, and work on yourself, and that's what we're here for. I mean, I'll speak for Ray's Recovery. Like, I teach people why they're getting the results they're getting, how to get how to reach any goal they want to get, how to get better results, and how to like be comfortable in your own skin, because there's a reason why we use these things. It's because again, an attempt to solve a problem which is usually rooted in pain that we don't know how to handle, or it could be a physical element But there's other ways and methods and natural ways that we can deal with these things that aren't going to harm you and ruin your life and wreck your bank account and end in divorce and lose all your friends and lose your home and your car. You know, there's other, we've got to come to ourselves. And before we can come to know, like before Ray could come to know Ray, I had to have all that stuff out of my body because it was clouding my system. And I said this on, I think, the previous episode we did together, Dan, that I had a revelation about 3 years or so back where like everything operates there's this law, a universal law. You can look this up. This isn't something I made up. This is scientific fact. We live in an ocean of motion. It's a universal law, the law of vibration. Okay. It decrees that everything has a frequency and a vibration to it. This is a primary law. The secondary law is the law of attraction. So when things are in harmonic resonance or just resonance and frequency with each other, they attract each other. Okay. So if even the food we eat, you know, when you eat a big greasy pizza or burger, you feel tired, you feel it. When you have a nice, healthy meal of organic, good vegetables and fruits and nuts, certain nuts and herbs, you feel so good and energized. You're clear headed. And so because of the frequency, the energy of those plants, when you ingest it, your body starts to break it down. You fuse with it. You literally fuse with it, and it becomes you. Like you've probably all heard the saying, "You are what you eat," and that's literal. And so when you put a substance in you, that substance takes over. You get the high from it. And now you can't not be high while you're under the influence. That's why you're under the influence of that chemical. And so until you clear all that out, you cannot come to know yourself. And it's going to be uncomfortable at first. It's not going to feel right. It's not going to feel normal for a while. Congratulations, you're on the right track. You know, I always tell people you're exactly where you're supposed to be. Of course you're going to feel weird and not like it. I mean, we've been numbing ourselves, some of us, for our whole lives. But once you finally distance yourself from the drugs and you're working on yourself, you're learning about recovery, you're learning cognitive skills, how to think, how to handle situations, you start to develop yourself and come into yourself. And now you can actually do that. And I mean, me and Dan are living proof. We're not trying to toot our own horns here, but we are literally living proof. I mean, if I haven't met more than maybe two or three people that were worse than Dan and I. I mean, we were at the bottom of the bottom, and there's nothing to brag about there
That's
at all. This is not to brag. It's just to say, like, guys and gals, we were so bad and deep into addiction that it was completely, everybody pretty much like thought we were lost. A lot of people thought we were just hopeless and just kind of wiped their hands clean of us, and they're gonna die any day now, you know. And here we are, sitting here as living proof that no matter how low you are, no matter what's your race or creed or religion or identity, sexual identity, lack of religion, none of that stuff, you can get clean. That stuff doesn't matter when it comes to getting clean. Okay, because addiction does not discriminate. It doesn't care about your race or how you identify, or if you're male or female, or if you're a Christian, a Muslim, a Buddhist. It doesn't care. It affects everybody the same way, you know? So there is hope. That's always our message. If you're alive and you're watching this, if you're in a dark place or somewhere in between, um, there is hope. I mean, we're living proof. And so we hope to encourage you and give you that hope shot, you know, that, wow, these guys really, really get it. They were there. They were in the depths. I mean, man, if if you believe in hell, I think hell for me, I lived it here on this earth, you know. And I think Dan, you totally agree. Like we lived hell on earth, and literally, and now we're on the other side of that. And so that's why we're so passionate about helping you in your recovery journey. And if you're a person listening to this with 20, 30, 40 years clean, we want to connect with you too. Like this is for everybody. We want to help everybody, and you can help us. Join our community. Help others, you know. Like if you have it in you that, you know, man, I got through some things, and you ever had the thought that maybe you want to help somebody else, please contact us. Join the Raise Recovery group. I'll put the link to that. It's a Facebook group. I'll put a link to that in the description below. Um, and some other tools that and resources are on there. I mean, we have all kinds of videos. We have the Raise Recovery YouTube channel. Obviously, you're probably watching it on there right now. We'll also post this on Facebook. Reach out to us. I mean, if you need treatment, reach out to us. Like I hear a lot of people say, you know, reach out to somebody who can get you, you know, get you some help. Like again, we want to be the people that'll help you or direct you, you know, and it's scary. So we can tell you what it's like. What is rehab like? Maybe you've never been there. You know, we're happy to answer any questions that you guys have. Our purpose and our mission here is to help other people get through the living horrors of addiction that we got through. And yeah, what do you think, Dan?
Pretty much everything what you just said. Like I said, I work at a rehab. I'm always willing to help anyone who is looking for a way to get off of something, a way to if anyone has any questions they want to answer, just from my point of view, your point of view, whatever. If you're not even clean yet, if you're trying to get clean, because it's hard. Like I said, it took me 27 attempts, if not more. I mean, that's just the amount of rehabs I went to. And it just, you have to sometimes you have to get beaten up pretty bad before you get to the point of wanting it though.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And if you're lucky to live through it all, if you don't die first, you know, I mean, how many people have we known? I can't even count them all that have died as a direct result of using, you know. I
Yeah,
mean,
a lot.
you get sick of going to funerals and stuff. It's just like crazy. So, and you know, another piece of advice, give yourself a break. Be easy with yourself. Understand that just because you might have screwed up or you're addicted to drugs doesn't mean you're a bad person. You might be doing bad things, but that is not who you really are deep down there. You may disagree with me. I would have disagreed with me if someone told me that years ago. I would have been like, no, I'm a real piece of crap. But I always did have a good heart. But again, this isn't about me. I just take it 1 minute, one day, one moment at a time, and just get through the present moment. You know, that's all you got to do. And I promise you, one of my sponsors told me, as long as you do not pick up the first one, it absolutely must get better. Absolutely must. But the second you put that first drug in you, it's all downhill from there, you know. And like we've said before, we're like repeating ourselves, but you take the elevator straight down to the ground level, and you get out and you start digging a hole even deeper, you know. Like it's not, once you've been clean for a while, it's like boom, and you relapse, boom, right down to the ground floor again. And so our goal is to help you guys, A, get clean, B, stay clean and sober, C, navigate life, because recovery ultimately is about a process of spiritual growth and learning how to live. It's simple. It's a simple process for complicated people. And we tend to overcomplicate the crap out of things, you know, and not take suggestions. And if you're willing, if you've had enough pain and suffering, you know, this is the way. This is the way. To quote the Mandalorian, this is the way. But yeah, guys, we got a group for this. We're always available, like literally around the clock. We will respond to messages as soon as we see them. Dan or I. You can tag Dan on a post in the group, or me. You can send us direct message, whatever you want. There are group chats, like messenger chats in the Facebook group, that you can hit up, and we will see and respond to you as soon as possible. There's a lot of other resources out there too. So, any final thoughts or closing words, Dan?
No, I think you covered pretty much everything. I think you
Cool.
got it.
Awesome. So again, if you guys have any questions or thoughts on this, maybe you disagree with us, we'd love to hear it in the comments. We want,
Yeah.
yeah, like positive, constructive criticism, positive comments, whatever. Let us know what you think, because it'll just help us to be better and better serve you. So we appreciate you guys tuning in today. Thank you so much for being here. We're very grateful that you're here and watching this, whether it's here or years in the future when you're seeing this. The offer still stands. We're going to be doing this for as long as we live. I'd say, at least me. I don't know about you, but I think Dan too. So, we're always willing to help. Even if I'm 80 years old and you hit me up and I'll help you. So if I'm alive. So, all right, guys, thanks. Thanks for tuning in, and we will see you on the next one.